This is how to do the yearly maintenance on the Yamaha EF6300ISDE generator. In the manual it shows some of the different things that you need to do as far as on a scheduled basis. And my first one that I'm going to do is I'm going to do a spark plug replacement. And my spark plug is the recommended spark plug. If I can get it to focus. To do the spark plug, it's asking me to remove the front cover. And that's just what I'm going to do. So my front cover is here, and I'm going to remove it with the screws that it identifies in the manual. There are two bolts that need to be removed underneath, and they're Phillips head, there and there, and then this top piece has a couple of clips that are pushed up in it, and you need to kind of pull the bottom out, hinge it out, and then pull it down. My bolts are out. I'm going to hinge it down. Now with the cover off, the spark plug is actually right here. You can see it. It's harder to see. There's the spark plug right there as far as the cable cord. So I'm going to pull that off. I've got the cap off, so now you can actually see the spark plug. It's back in there. It takes the larger 13/16 spark plug remover. Spark plug has been replaced. Now we're going to do the air filter. And the air filter is right here. And on the bottom of it, and then on the top is a flathead screw, larger panhead screw that need to be removed. Kind of down into that spot. That opens up the case. Getting the bolts out initially is an absolute bear. The top one is a terrible design and you can't even reach the thing. And the bottom one is a little easier. I'll see what I can work with to try to get the things out yet. What an absolute nightmare to get the cover off. The bottom one's okay, but the top one is just absolutely problematic. So I ended up using something like this. Try to get it started with a ratchet, which is too big to get in there. So I was able to conjure it after 35 minutes just to get it loose enough with this and the ratchet to get my fingers in there. So when I put it back in, I'm just going to do it finger tight with this thing, because tightening it down with anything else is problematic. Or if you have an L screwdriver, but the problem with the L screwdriver is going to be the fact that you'll never be able to line it up appropriately with the hole for the clearance that's inside of there. So the hole or the slot will be like this, and if you can't get your screwdriver in straight in a certain way, it'll be like this, and you'll never be able to get the slot in. Now that we've put the air filter cover back on, now we just have to put the cover back on the front, and we're done with what's happening in the front side of this. Then we're going to go to the back side for the spark arrestor and the oil change. Now we're going to do the muffler screen spark arrestor. So that means you pull off the back cover, and there's just a couple of screws to take that off, and we'll take that out of here. Same deal. There's two bolts on the bottom that come out, and then you pull it down and hinge it out, and then it pops out. Now we're in the back side. Now here's the spark arrestor that we need to take out and clean. Alright, after working off the spark plug cap, the spark arrestor is right here, and this one's got some stuff on it to clean off. Clean that out. Alright, spark arrestor's back in and ready to go. Now it's ready for the oil change. Now in the oil change there is a little bitty, and it's hard to see, there's a little rubber gasket that is right down there. See the little round circular part of it right there, and you got to remove that. That removes so that you can drain down the oil from that plug down out. So now we're doing the engine oil. We already have the back cover off, so that's already done. And then we remove that little rubber gasket from the bottom, and then we're ready to fill, or drain and fill. Now before I do that, I want to run it a little bit so I can get it warmed up, and then we'll drain it. So I've ran it for 5-10 minutes, so under load, so that it should be stirred up really well. I've had to put it up on some blocks so that you can actually drain it, unless you've got a really thin, and I'm talking thin like a paint pan that you could put underneath it. But it's got to be able to handle a quart of oil. So I've just blocked it up or put it up on something so that it's up, and lock the wheels down for yourself before you go in. And there's the drain plug. So I'll go in, and we're going to have to get a socket out to get the drain plug. So this is a Yamaha, so it's going to have metric in it. So it takes a 17 millimeter to put on the thing, and then there's a little hole here that's got a little rubber gasket in it that we've pulled out. And then you would take that, you can get a long reach ratchet, and it'll fit inside of there to reach to be able to undo it. So I pulled the drain plug out too, so that it could breathe better. And then I tipped as it got done, I tipped it and pulled it forward so that it would drain out the rest of it. So it's all drained out. Make sure when you're done, get yourself a paper towel and clean down, because right there where my finger can't quite see, there's a little channel and it puddles up in there. And when the oil initially starts to come out, it's under pressure, and it gets up here on this little bar, which is hard to see, and kind of squirts over top of that. So you want to wipe that all down so it's nice and clean inside. And then wipe off your dipstick, and you've also got your plug, and make sure that the copper is on there yet. Needs to have the copper, and it's ready to go. That looks good and clean, ready to get in there. So now I'm just going to fill it back up. Takes about the whole reservoir is 1.3 US quarts, and I'm going to use the approved Yamaha lube for this thing. And fill her up, and you're going to fill it up so that you can just kind of see it inside of there in the dipstick. It shouldn't be starting to eke out basically where the threads are. You want to be just at the bottom of the threads inside the machine. So put the plug back in, and then I've got a reach up here, because if you use just a straight funnel, it can't quite make it, it'll leak out. So I got one with a hose on it. So use one of them, and then just pour slowly, and just start filling her up. And should be, like I say, I put about a little over a quart in right now, and I'm going to test it, see where I'm at. So like I say, it's supposed to have a 1.3 US quart capacity, so I don't know how. We've got to see where that's at in filling it up. Okay, it took 1.3, just a little under that, so it pretty much takes that full load. Put your gasket back in down below, and your gasket in here, and then we're going to put the cover back on, And then we got to put our 2 bolts back in the bottom, and we should be good to go. And then we're going to run it and make sure that it runs right, and go from there. Now we're looking at the fuse. You have to take the front panel off, and there is a little dongle that hangs down here, and here is the original fuse. It's a 20 amp, and I've got some 20 amps in here, so you can see the size. It's a little bitty one, 20 amper. And then just push her back in there. You're ready to go. Here are some takeaways from doing the overall maintenance. Number 1, you're going to have to get the thing up on blocks somehow, because if you don't, it's a nightmare to get inside of, as far as getting into the bolts and actually operating and working inside of it. And you can't drain out unless you've got some skinny pan, which is non-standard. And so all the standard pans to drain the oil out are taller than this thing is. So you're going to have to get it up on blocks somehow. Number 2 is that the spark arrestor, when you pull it out, it says in the instructions or in the manual that there's a little nub that it's supposed to match up to. I stuck my finger in there and I didn't find any nub inside of the muffler to feel that. So there's a hole in the cap that goes on the spark arrestor, and then there's a little nub on the bottom of it, and I just put that on the bottom, and I don't know where inside there's a little a corresponding nub in the muffler, but I didn't feel that. So there's that piece. You absolutely have to have a 3-inch extension to get into the oil to get the drain plug out. So make sure you've got that. So there's that kind of thing there. The air filter is a mother. That's the worst thing about this thing. Trying to get there's 2 bolts that hold it on, and the bottom bolt's easy, and the top bolt is sucky because it's up in the middle of everything, and you don't want to pull out gas things and anything like that. And so it is a bitch to get unscrewed. And so you're just going to have some kind of and it only can handle something that's probably 1.5 inches long, but it's got to be 1.5 inches long, because that's the only way it can make the clearance inside of there to reach. Because there's a face there. Here's the cover, and then the bolt is set back, so you got to be able to reach it. But there's no additional room out here to play in to try to get a wrench or anything like that. So it sucks. So you got to just get in there and finagle it, and then I just finger tightened it, and then tightened really well the bottom one, so that way that'll keep it in place. So the fuse is a 20 amp, and it's a small one. I mean, it's smaller than my thumbnail one, so it's the tiny kind of one. So there's the fuse, there's the air filter, there is the spark plug. Spark plug is one where you that was relatively easy. It definitely takes the larger spark plug, and make sure the spark plug socket has actually got the rubber in it so that it can lift it out. So the spark plug socket is that's not it. That was it there. So the spark plug socket was a 13/16, and it's got the little rubber gasket inside of there so that it can lift it out once it's in there. If you don't have that, you'll never get it out. So make sure you got one of them, and that is about it. Make sure to run it before you drain the oil, and yeah, that's about it.